So we know that the visa appointment process can be challenging. And what we want to be able to do is to give you more information to speak intelligently about your program and about SEMO in the hopes of being successful in your visa interview. So that's what we're doing today, and that's kind of an overview of what this whole process is. Um, I will show you here is a list of the upcoming SEMO 101 sessions. As I said, they happen every Wednesday. Each program is at 1300 Greenwich Mean Time, and the login information for each meeting is going to be the same. So you can see you go to zoom.us/join, you enter the meeting ID, and there you have it. For those of you who are not able to join us live for a SEMO 101 session. We will be recording all of these and they will be posted on our webpage and they'll be available as archives. So you can go in at any time you want to go ahead and watch this information. You can pick out the topic that you want. And you can go from there. So we will be sending out reminder emails every Monday to our recruitment partners and to all of our students who have already applied or been admitted. And we do have graphics for social media posts. If any of your recruitment partners, anybody out there want to share the information with your partners, we're happy to get a big audience for these. And the last thing I'll say about the 101 sessions is each one, as you can see, has a different topic. We're going to take about 30 minutes for each one of these sessions. The first 15 minutes will be talking about the specific topic, and then the second 15 minutes is open to question and answers. And those questions can be about anything, not just the topic that we're talking about that day. So, that said, today's topic is preparing for your visa interview. I do want to give credit to I got a lot of the source material for this presentation from NAFSA, the Association of International Student or the Association of International Educators. There's a link that I gave you there online, 10 points to remember when applying for student visas. And so I'm just giving credit where credit is due, where a lot of this information came directly from them. So before I start, let's talk about a couple of caveats real quick. Um, I'm going to be giving you very general, basic information that we understand from the US side about what the consular officers, what the State Department is looking for in terms of granting visas. And you may know a few more country specific things in your context. There are certain places, for example, Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is the only place in the country where we get students where they are asked to make some kind of a deposit on their account here and show that to the visa officer when they get their appointment, and it tends to be successful. We're not asked to do that anywhere else. So there are some country specific things that you need to be aware of. And I'm not going to be talking about country specific stuff today. This is really just, generalized information that kind of gives you an idea of the philosophy and the kind of intent behind a lot of these things. And the second thing that I would tell you is if you are working with one of our recruitment partners, many of those recruitment partners abroad have their own visa training as part of their services. I would trust those people because they know the context, they know the consulate office, they know what happens in that country. So if you hear something from me that contradicts what your recruitment partner is telling you or your advisor in that home country, maybe bring this topic up with them, but I would defer to them as they know the local context a lot better than I do. So that said, I'm going to go ahead and start. Um, One of the main things that you have to understand when you go in and apply for a US F1 or J1 visa is that visa officer's original attitude towards you is They consider you to be an intended immigrant. The F and J visas are non-immigrant visas by themselves. They are not pathways to immigrating on a permanent basis to the United States. So you really need to, first and foremost, demonstrate to that visa officer that you are not an intended immigrant. You have to be able to show ties to your home country. You have to talk about there's a quote right there on that second bullet point saying that your reasons for returning home after you get your education have to be stronger than your reasons to stay in the US. Okay? So there's all kinds of ways that you're able to do that. You can talk about, maybe your family owns a business, maybe you own property, maybe you have other plans or you but always remember that one of the very first things that you have to do, and one of the three most important aspects of getting a visa, is demonstrating ties to your home country. Very, very important. Secondly, understand that generally these visa applications are going to be conducted in English. Okay? It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be perfectly fluent, but you do have to be prepared to have an interactive conversation with the visa officer. They look down upon people who appear to have memorized a speech. If you don't have the ability to kind of veer off of that speech and talk about things from a different angle, it will reflect poorly on your application. So please make sure that you are, practicing speaking with native English speakers, really boning up on your English skills so that you have the ability to conduct the majority of that interview in English. And I cannot stress this enough, that I have heard on multiple occasions from hold on one second, from consulate officers that if you do not sound conversational, if your answers to their questions sound memorized or scripted and you do not have any ability to veer off of that script, it will be difficult. Okay. And then the last point I'll say about English is many of you, we have a great IEP pathway program, and we do bring a lot of students into our programs by studying English. So we have an intensive English program, we have a pathway program, we have advanced academic English courses. There are lots of people that need to study English, and that is okay. But if that is your plan, you need to be able to talk about why learning English will be beneficial in your home country. Okay, so again, tying it back to ties to your home country, how is English going to help you in your home country? Number three is pretty self-explanatory. We don't need to go into great detail about this. But it's you, not your parents, not your friends, not your guardians who are going to be going to the United States and doing your program. The visa officers don't want anybody else to speak on your behalf. You, the visa applicant, are the one who really needs to be answering the question and be prepared to do those things. So please make sure that nobody is speaking on your behalf, that you are conversant upon all those different topics. I mentioned earlier that there's three things that you really need to be able to do in order to get a visa. The first one is demonstrate ties to your home country. The second one is really demonstrating that you know the academic program that you're going into and how that program fits into your career goals. So I think that there's a real concern on the part of consulate officers or visa officers that students are being told to go to certain places, that they are part of some kind of scheme to just funnel people into the United States, even though they're not, kind of legitimate students. And so you have to be able to tell that visa officer what the program is that you're studying. Um, your intent is to study, not necessarily to work. Understanding how your degree program will affect your career, and again, tying it back to your home country or somewhere else in the United States. And if you are applying as a graduate student, you must be able to talk about what your specific research interests are. So, on the undergraduate, the bachelor's side in the United States, that's really considered a program in which you learn and professors teach you. At the graduate level, the master's and the PhD, you're expected to conduct your own research and develop knowledge in the field. So it's really incumbent upon you to do some research on the program, understand the curriculum, and understand how all of that fits into your career plans, and then be able to articulate that to the visa officer when asked. Similar to that is why SEMO. I'm you're all attending this SEMO presentation, so I'm assuming a lot of you are interested in our university and are hopefully coming here. But along with understanding your program, you have to be able to talk about why this specific school. There's thousands of higher education institutions in the United States. I think there's something over 4,000. And lots of them offer the same programs that you're applying to. So you need to demonstrate to that person that you have knowledge, a connection to the school that you're choosing, and be able to talk about why that is. So at the end of this presentation, I'm going to give you a number of different resources to help you understand the SEMO programs and to understand more about SEMO and what our talking points are. I did give a presentation 2 weeks ago about 5 reasons why SEMO is an excellent place for international students. You can go back and look at that. Any of those 5 reasons would be valid for telling the visa officer that this is why you're picking SEMO. But again, being able to talk about it, not just from a script, but knowing in your mind, in your heart, that why this is the school that you're choosing will be important and helpful. Be positive and brief. So, fortunately or unfortunately, these are really high stake visa interviews that often don't last any more than 2 or 3 minutes. Your visa officer is going to ask you maybe 1 or 2 questions, and you have to be able to answer those questions appropriately. But it's important to be concise and to be brief and to address the specific question that visa interviewer asked you. Okay. So again, they don't have a lot of time. They've got a full schedule of boom, 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 visa interview after visa interview, days on end. They're trying to do their job, but they want to do it in an efficient and timely manner. So please make sure that your answers to their questions are direct. You're really listening to the question that the person is asking. You're addressing it, but you're not going into overly too much detail. Again, you need to be short, you need to be to the point. The other thing that's very, very important is your image, your attitude, and the way that you present yourself in that visa interview is important. Be positive. They don't want to hear negativity. You could very well get a negative response. It's important that you don't act in a negative manner. You should dress professionally. Like this is almost like a job interview. Like you should be wearing good clothes. Don't be wearing a t-shirt with slogans or anything on it. Dress professionally, act positively, and answer the questions as concisely as possible. In the event that you are denied for your visa, I would make sure that you're asking that person for a list of documents that they can suggest to overcome the denial, and if possible, get a reason why you were denied. They can sometimes tell you those things. Sometimes they're a little bit vague about it. But understand that is your right to ask those questions, but do so in a positive manner. In terms of supporting documentation, one of the other things, so you need to prove ties to your home country. You have to know why SEMO in the program that you're choosing. And the third thing is you need to be able to demonstrate that you have the finances to support yourself while you're in your program in the United States. And oftentimes to do that, you will have to bring documents to show them physical proof of what it is that you're telling them that you have. Make sure that those documents you're presenting are not complicated and it doesn't take a lot to explain how that's going to support you. If it's the lease of your nephew's brother's, house that you're going to be able to sell on this market, that's too complicated. It's too convoluted to think about how is this person going to be able to finance themselves if they have to jump through all these hoops. So please make sure that your documents are very clear to the visa officer what it is they're supposed to be portraying. Bank statements are really good, investment portfolios, anything that can show liquid assets is good. Um, Check the consulate's website to make sure you have all the requested documents. Again, I told you at the beginning, some countries ask for a few different things than others. Make sure you're looking at the consulate website to see if there's anything specific for your country. And the final thing I'd say about that is make sure that the financial documents that you're presenting match what has already been indicated to the university on the I-20. So if you're showing on the I-20 that you've got proof for X amount of this currency, and then the documents you're showing to the visa officer has a different amount or is in a different currency or comes from a different location, that's going to be a red flag for the officer. So make sure that whatever you submitted to the school and is on the I-20 is also what you're presenting to the visa officer. Getting back to the idea about ties to your home country, again, understand that the F and J visas are non-immigrant. They are for you to come and be a full-time student in the United States. So is whatever you're indicating to that visa officer is that your main purpose for coming to the United States is to study, okay? Any kind of employment opportunities, whether that's on-campus internship, OPT, those need to be demonstrated as secondary pieces to why you're coming to the United States. The main reason is to be a student. And then the final considerations that I want to make sure that you're aware of is it is absolutely essential that you answer everything truthful. Those consulate officers have a great deal of information about you, your family, your application, and you don't always know what it is that they do or do not know. So any kind of mistruth or something that you tell them that isn't quite accurate may very well be known by them before they even ask the question, and then that would reflect very poorly upon your application. Now, an important part of the visa application is a vetting of your social media. Make sure that you're practicing good social media hygiene. Make sure that your accounts are public and that there's not a lot of inflammatory, anti-American, overly kind of political content in there. It's absolutely your right to have that on there, but understand that things like that may come back as being a negative in your visa interview. Disclose all of your past visits to the U.S. Again, this is easily attainable information by those visa officers. Make sure that you're open and honest about whatever is on there. If you have any legal issues, again, that information is probably going to be known by the visa officer. So you're not disclosing it can only hurt you. You might have a chance to explain what happened and how things have changed and things like that. So please make sure that you're being honest and accurate about any kind of history that you've had with legal or travel, things like that. And then finally, if you're not a citizen in the country where you're applying for the visa, make sure to explain that your intent is to return to your home country or that other country after completing your degree. So if you're from Zimbabwe and applying for a visa in South Africa, um, your talk needs to be about coming back to Zimbabwe, even though you're applying in South Africa. So that is the end of those tips. Again, I took a lot of that from the NAFSA presentation. Here's a number of resources that are SEMO specific that can help you with understanding your program and understanding more about SEMO. We have an online brochure. We list all of our programs in there. All of them are clickable. You can see more information about the curriculum of each program, the admission criteria. And one thing that I'd like to point out is each one of our program pages has what's called a degree map. And that's going to be a list of all of the different courses that you're required to take in your program. So make sure that you understand exactly the content that you are studying. There could be 5 different universities with 5 different computer science programs or programs that are labeled computer science, but they may have very different curricula. So really get into the courses and understand what it is that you're interested in. Some of those places may have more AI, may have more data analytics, may have more hardware, may have more networking. So really look at those degree maps of the program that you're interested in so you have a good understanding of what it is that you're going to be studying. Again, I pointed to the beginning, all these virtual engagement series, they are recorded. They're online at that website. Academic programs for international audiences. We have recorded one-on-one interviews with program faculty members and directors of the computer science program, our music, theater, dance programs, in order for you to get faculty members' names and to understand more about the intent of the program and curriculum. So I encourage you to check those out. We have a great Southeast Missouri page on Vimeo.com. You can see all kinds of videos, all kinds of social media, and SEMO program pages for faculty members in research interests. So with that, I am going to stop my presentation. I went a little bit beyond 15 minutes as intended. And at this point, I am open to any questions that you have. You can either put the questions in the chat or you can unmute yourself and I will go ahead and answer them as they come in. Any questions? Okay, so one of the questions in the chat is, if we want to work on campus, should we say so? Yes, absolutely. I think that if you want to work on campus, what you should be doing is, let me see if I can get this. Sorry about this. I had to change my view a little bit. It is absolutely okay to say that you intend to seek an on-campus job, which is your right as an F1 visa holder. All international students have the right to work on campus up to 20 hours per week during their program. But what you should be framing your interest to work on campus as is experiential learning, resume building types of opportunities. It's not, we all understand that working on campus puts a little extra money in your pocket and helps finance your education, but I would not frame your intent to work on campus as a necessary financial support piece, because you really should have the money on your own or through your family or from whatever support you have to pay for your expenses while you're in the US. Your student worker job is not going to pay for tuition. So don't say that I need an on-campus job to help pay for all of my expenses. Frame it as experiential learning, an opportunity to understand the language and the culture better, an opportunity to build your resume. Okay? Does that make sense? I It would be a little bit problematic to say that you are absolutely required to have an on-campus job to help finance your education. Otherwise, it's definitely a right that you have, but it's again secondary to studying. Okay, another question is: are there scholarships offered by the university? Absolutely. Um, we have what are called merit-based scholarships. And the merit-based scholarships mean that when you apply to the university, we will take your academic records from your previous level, and depending on your performance, we're going to give you an automatic merit-based scholarship based on those results. So on the undergraduate side, basically, if you have the equivalent of a US 3.25 GPA, you will be getting a scholarship that's worth the difference between our international and our domestic tuition rates, which is a value of about $7,500 per year. If you don't have a 3.25, anyone above the 2.5 GPA will get a $2,000 scholarship. Same on the graduate side. If you have a 3.0 or higher on your undergraduate program, you will get a $1,000 per year tuition scholarship. So those are the main financial support pieces we have, and they're all in the form of merit-based scholarships. Good questions. Anybody else? We're getting up to the 30-minute mark. I'm willing and able to take a couple more questions if anyone has them. Seeing none, I will then sign off. Thank you all very, very much for attending and participating. This presentation, again, will go online today, so you can go back and see all of those links that I shared with you to learn more about SEMO. Hopefully, this was informative. Just to kind of close, I'd be curious if anybody out there, if anything I said about the visa application process is different from what you've heard or different from what you were expecting. Hopefully it was useful, but did I say anything that somebody said, "Ooh, I didn't think that," or there's something else that I thought about that? Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. It is my sincere hope that I get to meet you in person here in beautiful Cape Girardeau sometime soon. My email address is kjtimlin@semo.edu. It's right there on my Zoom picture. You can contact anyone in our office at international@semo.edu. We are very responsive. We want to answer any questions you have. And if there's anything we can do, please don't hesitate to contact us. So, okay, have a good day. Thank you for your time.